Hello friends, my name is Behroz and welcome to the channel where I share with you tips, tricks that I read, learn and apply in order to become my best version. Now in this video, I will address one of the most frequently asked question in an interview. A question that you should expect to be asked like 99% of the time, and hence you should prepare for it the most, which is what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. What I will do is in this particular video, I will only address the strength part of that question. And for the weakness part of the question, I will make a separate video for which I will leave the link above. So now let's get rolling with trying to understand how do we answer the question, what are your strengths? Now, before we go further in this video, one call out. Out of my passion, I coach and mentor a lot of people who are either applying for new jobs or who are in their career and trying to grow in their careers. So if there's any question that you have, any help needed, link up with me on LinkedIn, write to me on the chat any question that you have, and I'll try to address your question there. And if not possible, we can even set up a connect, and then I can help you as much as I can based on my experience. Hence, be brave and you can just drop me a cold message. Now in this video, I will have 4 parts. First part is to address and understand why is the interviewer asking you this question? Why are they interested in your strength? Because if you really understand this, this will empower you to give one of the best answers that you can give and hence ace your interview in this regards. Second, I will talk about the ways in which you can answer this particular question. Third, I will lay down a couple of strengths that you can use in your interview. Make sure you can relate to those strengths that I will lay down. And if you do relate to those strengths, they will be some good solid strengths that you can put as part of your strengths and lay them down in the interview. Because this will not just impress the hiring manager, but will also help you stand out versus all other candidates. And lastly, I will share some examples of structured answer whereby what is the strength that you can say and how do you elaborate and talk about that strength when you're trying to answer this question. So a structured example for addressing or answering this particular question, which is what are your strengths? Now let's get moving to each of these areas one by one in the rest of the video. Also, I will throw in one bonus tip towards the end. So make sure that you stay tuned till the end of this video. Now to answer the first question, which is why is the interviewer so much interested in this area and why is he or she specifically asking this question? What the interviewer wants to do is wants to understand that whether the strengths that you hold are suitable for this role and whether those strengths will add value to the role or to the organization at large. And also for them to assess the kind of skills that they are looking for, whether hard and soft, whether you possess those skills in you or not. Because every role and every organization has a different demand for skills, both hard and soft skills. So hence they want to make sure that the person they are hiring is suitable for that particular role and for the particular organization you are interviewing for. And hence your strengths should reflect the requirement of that particular role. And once you understand this part, here comes step 1, which is to understand that what skills are being required for that particular role or by that particular organization. So you can go ahead and highlight those skills when you're talking about your strengths, because once you start highlighting those skills, the person who has this list of skills in front of them and who's kind of judging you or taking your interview will be ticking those skills and saying, okay, these are the skills I required, and this person possesses those skills as his or her strengths. Now, as part of this preparation, that is to know what skills are specifically required for this particular role or organization, I have compiled a list of things or ways in which you can gather this information and have captured it in a separate video for which I will leave the link above and in the description box of this video. Now, second, we talk about the ways in which you can answer this question. Now, there are typically 3 ways to call out your strength. One is being direct, which is, let's say my strength is communication, leadership, analysis, stuff like that. However, there are usually 2 challenges. One is that being so direct may sound a bit boastful. And if you have that feeling and if you're not very comfortable by being direct about your strength and qualities, it is perfectly fine. You can kind of twist the answer in a way where you can still call out your strengths, but also be humble about it. By the way, there are a lot of organizations where this may be appreciated. So watch what kind of organization you are going into. If it's not a very cutthroat culture and a culture which is more about people and being humble and being soft and all, then maybe this is the technique which you can use. Now, the technique is to slightly change the question, which is when someone asks you, can you tell me what are your strengths? You can go like, I rather just talk about what are the things which motivate me, because I believe that the things that motivate me are the things that I am good at, and hence because I feel passionate about them, I've done them in past, and hence they should be naturally my strengths. So I will talk about the things that motivate me the most. And the things that motivate me the most are people leadership. It's about communication. I love writing. I love speaking. I love presenting. Thirdly, I love analysis. I love numbers. I love data and all. Now, this way, what you've done is you kind of told what your strengths are, but in a very nice, soft and humble way. Because for someone like me, I always struggle answering this question while being very direct, because it sounds very pompous, which is I'm analytical, I am a leader, I have the best communication. So I like to address it from my motivation and passion point of view, and suddenly it becomes more interesting and more personal. With that said, the third piece is when you are talking about your strengths, make sure you back them up with evidence. And this is the third way of calling out your strengths. And I think the best would be something which is a mix of number 2 and number 3, where you're kind of humble, but also make sure once you call out your strengths, you also give an example to substantiate that you have proven in past that this skill existed in you and the strength existed in you, and you have proven by some experience or some delivery in past. So for instance, I can talk about people leadership, and I love people leadership. I have a lot of passion for it, and I had a team previously which I managed. There was a time when there was a lot of demotivation in the team. We had bad people survey and people pulse or internal survey scores. There were people who were leaving, so a lot of people were leaving the company, and the team was kind of in disarray. And when I joined, I kind of brought the team together. I sat with them. I tried to understand their grievances and what is that they want and expect from me, and then I told them what is that I want and expect from them, and we married together those expectations and ended up delivering very strong results, a cohesive team, and so on and so forth. Now, here I talked about my passion being leadership, which is my strength, and then giving an example of how I've proven that particular skill. Because in general, your skills should be supported by experience. Similarly, if you call out communication as one of your strengths, then you need to list an example where you would talk about how, with regards to strong communication that you had in a particular situation, you were able to achieve certain goals that were desired of you and of the situation, or how you were able to resolve a particular problem or situation just through your communication. Now let me take a break and call out one caution, which is don't talk about the strengths which are very generic and are assumed to be a prerequisite for any job on this earth. The filter to use here is to see if the strength that you are about to call out is role, company or job specific or not, or that it is very generic and can apply anywhere universally. Examples of those universal skills are honesty. Obviously, every company, every role wants you to be honest. Loyal. Similarly, same. Trustworthy, hardworking, friendly. These are generic requirements or basic requirements that any company, any job would require you to have. So they are not specific strengths to the specific role or the job. Strengths should be strategic and unique. That can add extra additional value to the company, not anything which everyone should just possess as a bare minimum. Anyone should possess or be loyal, honest, friendly as bare minimum. But then comes on top, which is I am also analytical, I have leadership skills, I have better communication. These are the strategic skills which are usually unique to a particular role or organization. Or at least they are not like universal skills. For instance, there may be a role, let's say a role for coding, which may not require you to have leadership skills. You just need to sit, work alone on a particular project and code that particular project. So even if you say leadership or no leadership, it really doesn't matter, because they are not looking for leadership skills. Maybe they are looking for detail to attention in that particular role. And hence for that role, leadership may not be a skill that is required. And hence leadership is not a universal skill. But again, you need to be honest if you are a coder. Or for that matter, you need to be loyal, honest, and friendly for any given job. Now, given I've already explained that you cannot just have any skill as your strength and throw it in the answer, because you need to be very job and role specific. Hence, it's difficult to lay down an exact list of strength that you can just copy paste and reapply in your interview. However, what I will do is I will go by my own example where I come from finance and I have done my MBA and I've mostly worked in fast moving consumer goods companies. So I will talk about a couple of strengths which are very key and needed for such roles in such companies. One is communication. It is very important. Again, it's not a universal skill that is required by every single job in this world. However, it's a skill which is very highly valued and rated in organization, and it is very scarce. So you can talk about communication in terms of communication of writing and how concise you are, how simple you are, and how you can explain a difficult concept in a very easy terms. Or you can also talk about your speaking skills or presentation skills and how you can make or take the message across or influence people through your communication or influence management or your team through your communication and drive the point across. Another important skill is analysis, which is very highly valued by the companies, especially given the times we are living in, where we have so much access to data and information, and we have less people and less brains to analyze that data and come up with insights that we can use in order to grow and bring and add value to the business. Another important skill is problem solving. This is a situation you will get almost every day in your job where there will be a problem and you would be required to solve. So how do you solve that problem? Which is first and foremost, which is a very important thing and people miss, is identifying what the problem is. First of all, understand what the problem is. So you can tell that I'm good at problem solving and I can understand what the problem is. Where is it coming from? How to solve it? What are the options and the pros and cons of the options and sensitivity of those options and so on and so forth. So you understand that logic of how to solve the problem, taking that thread. Another important one is strategic. And this is more so required when you're applying for jobs which are not entry level and slightly higher level, where you also not just need to get the work done for the day or for the month or the year, but you also have to think long term, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. How to make the right choices so the company can succeed in the future that is coming. Another one is attention to detail. This is very much important in the kind of roles that I've done, which is finance and accounting. Again, you can't go wrong with the numbers that you are communicating externally or internally, and hence you need to be very attentive to small details, small numbers, small errors here and there to make sense of everything, and hence attention to detail is another important skill which is very much required in the kind of career that I have had. Similar to that, there is another skill which is all about being organized, and again, this would be required for someone, let's say, who's jumping into a project management role. When you're running a project which has multiple stakeholders, a lot of investments, different timelines, different time zones, different people working on it, you need to be very methodical and very organized in terms of how you put everything together and take the project from one end to the other end. And let me put out one last one which may be important for roles which are mid-level to high, which is people skills, which is how good you are with managing people, how good you are with influencing people, to work with people and all. So this could be another important skill that you can throw out as your strength. Now let's move into the last part of the video where I will share with you a few structured responses using particular skills, just for you to have an example of how to talk about those skills. You just don't throw in that one word or one adjective as your strength, but you also elaborate what you mean and give an example from past to substantiate that you really have demonstrated that skill in past. So let's talk about leadership skill as one of the skill example. I consider leadership skills as one of my key strengths. During my time as the department head, I successfully merged 2 teams together, and I organized training programs for all team members to make sure that each one of them is familiar and confident with the roles that they are getting into given the new structure. As a result of that cohesive and structured team, we were able to grow the company's sales by 5% during the first month of setting up that team. Let's take communication skills as an example. Thanks to my experience as a data analyst, I was responsible for not just analyzing the data, but also making sure that the data that I analyze, I'm able to generate insights from the data, and then I'm able to communicate in a very concise, simple way and most effective way to the higher manager. So we can put all those insights in front of the top management and then influence decision making. Here, for instance, you don't have a specific example from the past to share to substantiate, but what you have here is that you are sharing that the role you were doing involved communication on day-to-day basis. and it required supreme communication to be made to top management. And hence that is from where you learned communication skills and you've kind of mastered it, and hence you're calling out as your strength. Now let's talk being organized as one of the skills. I was working on Project X and my management came to me and said that the company is going through a downturn and they'll have to cut my budget on the project. Plus, they also need me to deliver on that particular project faster and earlier. Now that meant that I have to reorganize the entire project management structure in order to fit in the new budget, reorganize its scope, its direction, the objective, so we can fit in the budget, and not just fit in the budget, but also fit within the timeline. So I brought the entire team together, we recalibrated our priorities, and based on our priorities, we reassigned the budget and hence created the structure in terms of the new timelines that need to be delivered, and then any extra resources that we may be requiring, or any things that we need to deprioritize in order to hit the new timeline and hit the new budget. And thankfully, due to that restructuring of the entire project management structure, we were able to deliver the project on time and within the new budget. And it was a huge success. Now for the last example, let me talk it in the humble way that I mentioned previously, which is one of my key passion points and something that motivates me a lot is designing strategy. And not just designing strategy, but also making sure that we design the strategy, we track the strategy, and also get it delivered. And here I have one example where there was this business unit which was not growing at all and was flat growth for past couple of years. And I was assigned this project in order to get that particular business unit back to higher, strong growth levels. So I set up a multifunctional team together and we created a 5-year strategy on how to bring back growth in that particular market. So I designed what is our vision in that market, what are the objectives that we want to deliver, what does the growth look like, where do we play, what are the choices that we will make, and how do we win in those choices. And then create a structure in terms of numbers and targets for each of the things that we need to get delivered, with timeline, with owners, and then tracking it on regular basis. And thanks to that deliberate strategy and choices that we made, within 1.5 years, we were able to bring growth to that business unit. And within 5 years, we saw around 10% growth as CAGR year on year. Now, one bonus tip, which is very important, especially in the area where you're applying for a job where you feel you don't possess all the skills. For instance, this could be a case for me as finance and trying to go into a marketing or let's say a sales role. So I'm a finance person, I have finance skills, but I don't have sales skills on my resume or marketing skills on my resume. So even though I can talk about me possessing certain strengths, it is almost impossible for me to give any examples from the past to substantiate that I did possess those strengths. So here what you need to do is sell in your passion to do the work and learn faster in case you are missing any of the skills that are required by the role. And then you can give an example of how in past you have been a fast learner. So for instance, you got this particular project or task and you had no clue or no prior experience as to how to do it, and you learned overnight how to execute that particular project. And due to your hard work and all the learning, it was a huge success. Because despite you not having the skills, while your chances are low, they are not zero. And you can still play on your passion and hunger in order to convince the interviewer that you have that drive where you can land in a job, learn anything, and get going within few days. Because as an interviewer and hiring manager, from my experience, I can tell you that I would at any given day rather hire a person who has passion and hunger versus someone who has all the skills but no passion or not the right attitude. Because I can teach you all the skills, the data skills, the analytics skills, everything. But what I cannot teach you, or what is very hard to teach, is how to be passionate and how to be hungry for a particular role or job. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this video will now help you ace this particular question. Thank you.